everyone, guess what? We're here with Kristyn Hope of Daedric. They just put out a new album, As the Light Left. It is a killer, it's a killer album, but it really showcases, I think it showcases Kristyn's voice. Everything from the nice whisper singing and the falsettos to the harsh vocals. So go check it out. Kristyn, holy shit. I can't say enough about your voice. It is absolutely like mind blowing the variety and range that you have.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me on here as well. It's been,
Awesome.
yeah, that the album has been really cool getting to explore both the dynamics of the super soft and then, of course, the heavy, because everybody needs the heavy as well.
That is true. Typically, I'm a guy that I lean on the heavy.
Yeah.
That's about all I do, and so it's very it's rare that I get into something that has as much pop. I'll say pop elements for lack of a
Yeah.
better term that like Daedric has, but thanks to James and Curtis from Fixed for turning me on to you because like I'm like, all right, this is I can enjoy this with my family. They're not like, why are they always screaming at you? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, knowing that you only like the heavy. So I appreciate you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I say I only like the heavy. It's just predominantly what I listen to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
I get that.
I'm lame, I guess. No.
No, no,
Uh
definitely.
no, I'm just playing. What song on like As the Light Left really sticks out to you or is more like the personal song, I guess?
You know, everyone keeps asking me that, especially now that the full album is out. And I've come to the conclusion that to me, this album has become like one piece rather than individual parts making a whole. And I used to have a favorite as each song came out, it was my new favorite with the singles dropping. And now it's like I can't imagine like piecing it like that and picking it apart. I will say on tour, singing Dark Legacy was incredibly emotional for me, and it goes from this really soft falsetto, as you called it, to the belting at the end. And I think that it was a very much a foundational piece for the entire album.
I could see that. And I appreciate that answer too, right? Like it's so funny asking that question because I'm old. And, I grew up in a time when it was, you know, someone released an album and the album was the art, from start to finish.
Yeah.
So, now that I'm older, I say now that I'm older, like through my whole life, I've always, if I listen to an artist, I want to listen to this artist and I'll listen to this album from start to finish and I don't move to something else because as you kind of pointed out, it's like one song is such a small part of that giant portrait.
Right. Definitely. And especially as this one, we really came into it with intention, especially with the sequencing. It wasn't something where we're just, haphazardly placing songs throughout the album to create an energy. It was very much planned to take you on this journey from the beginning all the way to the end with all the segues that we placed between each song, so that way it feels more seamless too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was reading about it and like you guys had over 100 demos through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That's so wild. Like that is so much writing.
There was. And some of these demos went back almost a decade. Alien Skin itself was from 2019, and it was written in 2019 for my previous project, and somehow it made its way into here, and it worked out perfectly, even with the lyrics not being intended for this album. It still fit in like a puzzle piece.
That's cool. And that's so wild about art because you can create something so long ago and it's like, oh, I created it so it can go here.
Right.
It's like a wild storyline.
Yeah,
Here
no,
we
it's
are.
it's almost like fate just brought everything together.
Yeah, which, then it raises the question, is it are we meant to be or and things just happen like they're supposed to, or do we have our own free will?
Yeah, that's the theme of the album.
Rock and roll. Here we are, full circle.
Hmm.
What what was the like? I guess the catalyst for like Daedric starting?
Oh man. So Jeff Rockwell actually reached out to me via Facebook Messenger of all things. It was a cold message where it was paragraphs long, and I was kind of like, I don't know, that seems like a lot to just come at someone and be like, I had this idea, I'd like to meet up, and I had no idea who this person was. And I'd been getting a lot of messages from Aesop as we were building momentum there, so I almost ignored him. But we decided to meet up and at his studio and kind of hear him out on his pitch. And his pitch was that he was part of this record label called Fixed. They were in this niche genre of kind of industrial, electronic, not really quite metal. It was more of the synth side of things. And he wanted to fill this gap that he saw where there wasn't a lot of female artists doing this at the time. And so he thought, that we have like real potential to be there. So we wrote Wretched together. You could, if you listen to that, that was very much the vibe of like just like content, you know, like that EDM almost feeling, and then only clean vocals. So you would have hated it. And we built up this whole, music video thing. We did the promo photos with it and packaged it all up and showed it to Fix and said, okay, here is the projection of what this project could be for Daedric. And they were very interested. And so they signed us basically on vibes, just, just that content alone and then vibes. And from there, it wasn't very long into the project, I learned that I could scream. So they were like, okay, you have to. There's no way that we can not include that. And so we very quickly became a sort of pseudo metalcore band as well.
Yeah, how is that like screaming with your voice, going like so far in both directions?
The best way I can describe it, which is probably not amazing way to describe it, is it kind of feels like your normal singing voice is, your vocal cords are the highway. And then for the screaming, it's like as if I go into the side roads and then I get back on the highway when it's time to sing again. So it actually doesn't really overlap too much. It's more of just a quick switch that I just turn on and off.
How much practice goes into like making that?
Um, I wish I could give you a quantifiable amount, but I would say a lot. I've practiced a lot, just trying to get the tones right for both because it's easy to kind of mess up your voice if you're not completely switched over and you try to use too much voice in your scream or you try to use too much grit in your voice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I would assume with like the right warm-ups and cool downs and what have you, you really chance ruining that voice and blowing it out. And
Yeah, yeah. No, I've had to do a lot of reprogramming for myself, especially going into that full month-long tour, because as we toured with Daniel Tompkins and Tesseract for the 2 weeks, I wasn't quite equipped to handle that much back-to-back shows, and so after that, I worked with him, and then I worked with Marcus from Invent Animate to kind of work on some techniques going into the month-long tour, and it was absolutely perfect. I had no issues whatsoever, and I feel like I have a very solid path forward.
that's cool. It's funny how that happens too, right? You get out and you're like, "Oh, I meet this person who can really like show me this, this path to preserve my voice and give me the tools that I need.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's been awesome.
That's super cool. What as you were like coming to the release of As the Light Left, how were you feeling and what were you like, how are your nerves?
Ah, I don't know if nerves would be the right word for me. It was very much equally cathartic as it was raw and difficult because I thought that, everything I wrote about was kind of done and tied up with a bow. And as it was released, I was just gonna, give myself my own little applause and pop the champagne. And everyone around me was, especially the label, they're very proud of it. And it seemed like it was going to be kind of a shoe-in of like we just go through the process of promoting it and doing all the normal things. And I found myself, being on tour and also releasing the songs was extremely emotional for me. And it actually was very difficult to kind of let all of this go. And even, the day of the album release, I found myself just being like, man, I thought I was ready and I wasn't. Um, but that's okay. I think it's almost come full circle, like you said earlier, where it feels like it made itself true, and the emotional honesty of the album is something that I'm extremely proud of, even though it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. What part in the album for you is like the most difficult to deal with? I mean, I feel like there's a couple of lines in there that might, really when you sing them, you're like, oh, like that is
Yeah.
this comes back.
I mean, this ties into why for me it's one big piece is because every single line and every single emotion was something that I went through and I'm still, processing and going through. And it really feels like a roller coaster of you start with the other terror with this rage and this anger, and you go into, Night Mother with this feeling of like regret and fear. And then Dark Legacy is going into these feelings of almost sadness um, and then, at the end, it's not really a happy ending. It's not this thing where you're like, okay, I've processed all this emotion and I'm fine now. It's I'm left here holding all of this, and what do I do with it? And how do I move forward?
Mm. Yeah, that's such a wild like part in life, what like not everything is that happy ending. You don't get the bookmark and like, okay, moving on to the next
Yeah.
thing. You've got to figure that out, and there's I think there are a lot of missing pieces in people's lives and stories that are that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people have connected with a lot personally. I've gotten a lot of messages or people on tour or just the response to the album in general has been very genuine and very relatable for most people as they've dealt with their own problems in life. And even though the things I'm singing about and talking about are my own personal struggles, they've found a way to put it into their story. And many people have told me that I've spoken the words that they didn't know that they needed for themselves. And that's been
Oof.
honestly just a huge honor.
Yeah, that is like I think the wildest thing of art. I've been that fan, you listen to something and you're like, oh, I didn't know I needed that. Or you have that conversation, you're like, oh, that helped me deal with something totally unrelated to what we were
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
wow, yes, good for you. That I think that also comes out in like the authenticity, right? Like that's where
Yeah.
people really connect is when the artist isn't going for, I don't know, something,
Like the
some
pop
material
radio
thing.
hits. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get that. And that's why it's been really easy for me to say that I don't have to be a metal artist. I don't have to be a certain type of genre. And it's okay if not everyone loves every song because maybe they don't like the softness of Dark Legacy or Opulence. Maybe you only want to listen to the other terror, and that's completely fine because they can also stand alone and be just as true.
that's yes, yes, they can. That's so wild. Just albums as a whole. It's I tend to stay away from the pop stuff because it's they're so single focused and they're man, this song is so great. And then, you've got three or four singles and then a bunch of filler on the album. It's like, what
Yeah.
a letdown, you know?
That was a big deal for me going to this album. I told Jeff, I looked him in the eye, I said, only bangers. We're only doing bangers. And he locked eyes with me. He said, okay. And so that was our deal. And that's why it was a very challenging process because there were so many things we threw in the trash that they were good songs, but they weren't the songs.
Right. Yeah. And I think when you're writing, it's really hard to, make that decision too, is like that one's good, but it's not meant for this or,
Yeah.
whatever. What was
Absolutely.
that? How long did that process take you guys?
Um, I think technically we really started right after Mortal. I think I wrote Dark Legacy the month after Mortal was released back in 2023. So it was like the tail end of that. But then we took a very long hiatus. we ended up doing the shows, like our debut show and other things and other like offshoot collaborations. And so it pushed everything back. And I think the true album process started September of 2024. And then we wrapped I think March of this year.
Wow.
It
So
was a
like,
very
so,
like long process. Yeah.
yeah. Were you guys doing like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in the studio, or just kind of randomly writing?
Um, it was it was something to where I was spending more of my time in a literal closet because that's where I like to think. I promised Jeff I would try to do it in the studio, and I just struggled so much to think clearly in the studio. And so I was taking these instrumentals back and sitting in my closet with the whole timeline laid out and trying to write where I felt inspired. So sometimes I'd write here, and then I'd get writer's block and move on to something else. And there were days where I just couldn't write anything. And then, I had breakthrough aha moments throughout the entire process. But I would say it was quite tumultuous for me to write this whole album because it was, like I've said to other people, it was kind of like looking in a mirror and not being able to look away and having to describe what you see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I couldn't do that.
It's hard. It's
There's no
harder than
way. Yeah. Yeah. I can't even imagine doing that. And I look at myself in the mirror a lot.
it's
My wife's like, why are you looking at yourself in the mirror again? Because it's right there.
Yeah.
This good looking guy looking back at me, come on.
Right, right.
She's like,
And I get it.
I wish. That's so funny. Oh God. So like, was there a song that just was almost like word vomit? It just came out and you're like, oh my God, that was a lot easier than I
Um,
expected.
I would say the other terror was very much that. It was born out of like just pure rage. And I'm not a very angry person, so it was definitely a moment of um extremities. And so when I wrote that one, it was just like rapid fire. And I think I got that song completely rough tracked in an hour.
Like, that was easy. Okay, what's next?
Oh, easy in a way, but definitely not
Sure.
emotionally easy, I would say.
Yeah, no, I think, again, going back to the authenticity, I think when it's authentic and you're dealing with those true raw emotions, it's not, it might not be easy to get through, but I think when you're done with it, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What, like on this last tour, was there a fan interaction that really stuck out to you?
There were quite a few, I would say. I wasn't expecting the intensity of a lot of people that came up to me and told me things about their lives. There were people that gave me things or told me, that my music impacted them at such a deep level, and that's always shocking. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. It's like I'm writing this for me, I'm selfishly an artist. It's kind of like my story, and when people tell me how it impacts them, it's a bit difficult to process because on one hand you're trying to be gentle and be careful with who they are, and not belittle their feelings at all, but also you almost feel responsible. And I think that's kind of a hard thing. The easy ones are like, little girls that are like, I want to be a metal artist when I grow up, and that's always like a fun one because you're just like, man, I'm glad that I can be that inspiration for you.
Yeah,
But it's the older adults that are telling me these deep and dark secrets about themselves that it's almost like I'm holding this vase and I'm like, okay, I can't drop it.
I killed 3 people back because my boyfriend told me to, and you're like, what?
911.
What's yeah, this is weird. When did you do that? Hold on,
Yeah.
don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
not here.
I'm
Exactly.
taking this.
No, it's mostly, very good. And I do feel appreciative of those people that take the time to come out to the show, first of all. They spend the time there and then they, meet me at the merch booth. And most people just want to, come get something signed, but some people feel like this, deep connection. And I think that's really important for me as an artist to be there, to meet them where they're at and just like hear them.
Yeah. Does it make you feel like a therapist sometimes?
A little bit. Yeah. But I don't mind it. I think it's not too much of a burden.
Right. It should, I think as an artist, it shouldn't be. And, no, no judgment on anyone for where they're at or what they're dealing with, right? Artists included. Sometimes that weight I feel like can get real heavy.
Yeah. No,
Like,
definitely. Can. Especially with
no,
the difficult things that I think most of us have gone through in life. Those things weigh on you and keeping that inside, I think is harder than telling someone. And so I don't mind just listening.
yeah. And I think sometimes for a person to have that conversation, I don't want to say with an anonymous person, but with someone that you might never see again or speak with again is, it for them, it's super therapeutic because it at least gets it out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's wild. What artist was that inspiration for you?
Um, I actually haven't had a lot of personal artist interactions with like people that I listen to. It's been more of meeting other artists, especially on tour, or just meeting them in general and collaborating. Like that has been my biggest inspiration is getting to know them as both a person and their art simultaneously has been the most rewarding thing because I get to see that the duality that I also see in myself, and it's sometimes hard to separate the two, but it's always awesome to be able to relate with other people.
Yeah. I, I also think a lot of people don't. I had this conversation a few weeks ago with a younger dude at a show. We were just talking about interactions, and he's like, "Dude, you met all these people." I'm like, "But they're people,
Yeah.
treat them like a person. Like, go up and just have a conversation with them." And 99% of the time, they're just like, "Hey, cool," you
Yeah.
know?
And most people are very cool. And that's the thing that has been the most jarring about being, on the internet is how people have the audacity to just to say things as if you're not real or request things from you like you're a jukebox. And that's just kind of crazy. But I would say, 99% of my online interactions, I would say are positive.
Yeah, it's like the news, right? People are so focused on the news, and you hear all of this bad stuff, but there's so much good in the world that, if we could get that to be in the forefront, I think a lot of people's perceptions of the world would really change.
Yeah, definitely.
Lose that like anxiety and depression. It's like, hold on, I'm not alone. I like helping people. I like doing things.
Yeah.
People aren't,
It's really good.
yeah. I always try to like instill that in my kids. It's like you see all this bad stuff, and I say kids, they're young adults now. Um, but you see all this bad stuff, and there's all this anxiety with, going out. Oh, they're going to judge me. Like, one, who cares if they do? They don't know you,
Mhm.
right? And two, you're going to see them for like 10 seconds, and that's it.
Yeah. It shouldn't
Move
impact who
on.
you are as a person.
Correct. Yeah. But, I think that's part of the world that we live in. How do you, like, with those people on the internet that are like, hey, do this or do that? How do you like deal with that?
Um, I used to feel obligated to respond, especially early on in my career with Daedric, because I felt like every interaction was an opportunity, or I felt obligated just because we were a certain size. And now I feel more free to just leave it be, just not even respond. And not that I'm trying to be rude or anything like that, but I've realized that my time is absolutely more precious than my desire to respond. And I have to make time for things that I really care about. And a lot of times that's my own art or people that, I've wanted to connect with. And I have to kind of assess that. And sometimes there's a range. There's some people that it's worth inquiring a little bit and maybe it doesn't work out. But there's others where you can kind of see from the get-go that it's just, they're basically asking me for free work and I can't oblige.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No one should work for free. You
Just,
know, like,
once in a while, some pro bono work. It's for charity.
yeah, I guess for charity. Okay, I'm into that.
Mhm.
Um, I was looking at, I'm a big vinyl guy. You
Yeah,
probably can't see it, but all this is vinyl,
that's, yeah,
One thing I thought was really cool with As the Light Left was you guys did, was it cherry blossoms or apple blossoms?
yeah. Cherry blossoms.
Yeah. It's like I couldn't remember which one, but the cherry blossoms in the vinyl, how freaking cool is that?
Yeah, that was something I saw that with somebody. There was a record that I just saw as I was just Googling like what's available to do with vinyl. And that was something that I was like, if we can, I would love to have actual flowers inside. And so we did that limited release. We may do another one because I actually forgot to order one for myself, so I don't even have a vinyl. Um, but we do like all of them are going to have like that pop-up feature and like they're very interactive. We've the designer that we worked with on this vinyl was something that I told him going in was I just want this to be something to where if somebody wanted to play Magic the Gathering or have like an interactive map, like having this vinyl and the placemat that comes with it is something that people can actually use and not just stick on a shelf somewhere. So it's pretty cool, I'd say,
Yeah,
collectible.
I think it's like super cool. And as a collector, like I went to buy it and I'm like sold out. No.
The green one's still cool.
Yeah,
The
but I I literally have so much vinyl that it's like I'm at a point like, do I buy the vinyl to listen to, or do I buy the vinyl to collect?
yeah,
So I really look for the collector's ones because I'm okay spending a little more money
yeah,
to get something that had a little more attention to detail. Because I appreciate it. I want to
absolutely.
appreciate the whole art. One of There's a label, Pelagic Records.
Mhm.
They're primarily like post rock, post metal, but the packaging that they do on their vinyl is like it's spectacular. Always
Okay.
something really cool on like every release. That might give you some inspiration next time you're looking.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, and I know we're trying to like slightly pressure the label to do another release of the cherry blossoms because they only did I think it was like 50 or 100 because they were worried that they weren't going to sell and they were the production cost for making the cherry blossom one was pretty high, so they were just like let's do a limited release and cut it and see what happens, and it actually ended up we didn't have enough to sell, and people are I get DMs all the time about it and I'm like I don't know, I don't control the production.
yeah, yeah. James, Curtis, you guys, dude, we've got to do it like now. Another one,
Yeah.
please. Um, Hopefully they watch. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I'll get on Discord and tell him right now. I'll be like, Tom from Heavy Music said you have to. So that's it.
yeah, I'll just I don't know. I'll email Lisa and be like, hey, tell them to like do. Oh, I got. Never mind. I'll just hit them up. Like, hey,
Yeah.
do this. They'll be like, no, we're not doing it because I get it, right? We do. Like I said, I look for those like hard to find vinyl to really get, and there. So I've got some liquid filled vinyl, which are done very similar to the cherry blossoms. It's essentially they take two transparent records, put them together, and then inject the
Yeah.
liquid. So you pick it up and you can see it like fall down. Super
Yeah.
cool.
Cool. It's like a lava lamp, but flat.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone asked me like, so what does it sound like? I'm like, I don't know. I've not played it. I have another record that I'll
Oh.
play.
Are you worried that it'll puncture it or something?
No, not at all. I literally I buy multiples of the same album.
Mhm.
I have my collection, and then I have the ones I listen to.
That's smart.
Yeah, that way I always look for the like never played, never opened. Cool, I'll buy that one.
I see. So that's your version of the action figures that are still in box.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, some people got into the GI Joes or Magic the Gathering or
Mhm.
Pokemon or whatever. I got into records and stupid music memorabilia for
That's okay.
whatever reason. Yeah.
It's valuable. You never know.
For yeah, my daughter asked me one time. She goes, "Why do you why do you have all those records?" I'm like, "Well, really, like when I die, this is what you'll inherit." She's like, what am I going to do with those?"
Ew, gross.
Yeah, I mean, she was like 9 at the time.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know, you could sell them. It's probably worth this right now. And she goes, "What?" I'm like, yeah,
It's like 5 Barbie dream houses.
yeah, for sure. Like, buy like a mansion with it. I don't know, like whatever you want. She was surprised at the value in the records that I had there, which
Mhm.
is it's just funny. And for anyone thinking about breaking in my house, it's really not that much now. Um,
So Tom lives at, this address.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I live in San Luis Obispo. I'm on. No, I'm just kidding. That's so funny. What like kind of passions do you have aside from music?
I would say I've always been into art in general. I actually started out as a visual artist. I've always been into drawing, and I thought that was my life path. I was going to be some sort of illustrator, and somehow I tripped and fell into music. And so that's kind of how I ended up here. But I've always done things like dance, like I said, drawing, photography, videography, like all the visual stuff just was so easy for me to like pick up and just be interested in just by, being curious. And so I appreciate every aspect of art, no matter what format it's in. And I think there's there's like some level of beauty in all of it, and sometimes it translates seamlessly across the board. And that's kind of why it's been important for me to have so many visuals for this album, to to not just promote it, but to give life to it in this other medium.
Yeah, it when it's done right, it's seamless.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's always really cool. That and I think going back to what I said earlier about I tend to listen to more heavier music. One of the issues that I always find is like listening to an artist when they've got the cleans and they've got the dirty vocals. The transition is real hard. Like they just when they come to the cleans, they don't really hit where they should or where I feel they should.
Yeah.
Uh, so that like I'm like it always loses me. But you do like such a great job in like the control of your voice. Um, that's why I'm like, oh, I can get into this. It's that I look for that seamlessness, and I feel like you do so good seamless, like at least through the album. I haven't seen you live um, yet. Uh, so so I'm really excited to see what that is like live.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would say for the most part we try to keep it true to album. I've learned how to navigate all of that and make sure that it feels similar. Obviously when we have stacked layers, I have to pick which layer to do, but um I would say starting out as a clean vocalist has probably been a huge strength for me because I had that whole foundation of only doing cleans for most of my life. And then in the past 5 years, picking up screams and growling and all that and learning that. So it was more secondary. And I think that's a great place to start. Not that you can't start the other way around, but I think having more of the foundational knowledge of technical singing is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to be have that range, there's a technical ability that comes with it, training or self-training or whatever that is. Um, that one I will never be able to do. But
It's okay.
um, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not a vocalist. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Terrible at it. Uh, but that like you need that foundation of knowledge so you can do things like, oh, I had to. relearn how to sing so I could get these heavier, dirtier vocals to mix with, the clean singing. And maybe that's where the artists that I'm like, on, maybe that's where they fail or
Right. No,
don't
I
quite
think I know
hit
what
that
you mean.
mark.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's
It definitely
wild.
depends on the style and just the ability to deliver the kind of emotion that they're intending. Because I think that's a big part of it, at least for me, is do I feel what I think you want me to feel?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
both for, I would say, both for the cleans and for the harsh. Because if you're just growling, but it's very monotone and there's not a lot of feeling, it's probably not going to land for me either.
No, no, there has to be depth to it. There's
Absolutely.
like, there's a way that vocalists just do it that it really, I'm going to call it depth, but it just brings the listener in and it helps with that connection. And when you're connected to the music, you're emotionally like invested and you can't just turn away.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. What vocalist for you, like growing up, was that like inspiration where you were like, oh, that's what I want to do?
So I actually made my way very late into music. I was raised just strictly on classical music and hymns. And if you've heard hymns, there's not exactly a lot of feeling behind these songs. And so I was 16 when I was exposed to like just, secular music, as my parents would call it. And I was initially, grabbed by like 3 Days Grace and early Linkin Park, obviously. Um, and just like those kind of like alt metal rock bands. And then later in life, as I got into my singing career, the artists that really I gravitated towards were, Daniel Tompkins of Tesseract and Marcus Bridge of North Lane. Just that emotionality that they bring to their music, and you can hear it throughout the entire thing. That was important to me to be the voice of the song and also like that emotion of the song. And so there's quite a few other artists that are like that for me, like Anthony Green of Seosin and Circus Survive. And just hearing people be able to reflect their emotions has been more important to me than technical skill.
Mm, I think that's a fair statement, right? Like, not everyone has to have the biggest range, but if you can, you know, make the
Yeah,
audience connect with what you're saying, that holds a lot more weight.
yeah. And I think just looking back to the early things that I found, like Linkin Park, obviously Chester, he's an amazing vocalist, but I think what everyone loved most about him was that he was just so raw all the time. In whatever he's saying, it just, you were like, oh shit, that's true. Like whatever he's saying is how he's actually feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that they got as big as they did. It was that
Yeah.
it's the ability to connect with the audience, and to make the audience feel what you do. I feel like you would do, or you do really well at that, which is, it's funny. I think there's a lot of people that go to shows and they go for like so many different reasons. Uh, One of the things that I really like at a show is I like watching how the audience reacts to the artist.
Hmm.
That is, in my mind, that's one of the like best things in the world is, if you go to a show and the whole audience is into it,
Yeah.
the Browning at Louder Than Life, getting the whole crowd just,
Yeah. That's always awesome. Any
like
kind of
that.
moshing or circle pit is like the highest honor.
Yeah, for sure. The Those massive walls of death.
I would never. That's I'm gonna be in the back by the sound booth. Safe.
Yeah, I'm like, will my phone get a good video of that? Like, I don't want to be any part of that. I blew out my shoulder probably about 15 years ago in a mosh pit, and since then I'm
Oh.
like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, that's a huge price to pay for some fun.
Yeah, I mean that's getting old. Yay.
It's okay. It,
Terrible.
it's a blessing to get that old, to be able to make it that far. I think of it as levels, like, whatever level you're at, you've gained experience.
You are a gamer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made it to level 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And then
so Skyrim's your game, right?
It's one of them. I would say, one of my very favorites is actually Zelda. So all of them from, the very early like Ocarina of Time and all those to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I've played basically all of them. If I missed one, then I don't know. I'm confusing myself, but I've always just loved Zelda. I like the fantasy of it, but I also like the art. I don't know if you've played those, the more recent ones yourself, but the art on those is just it's gorgeous. And I love Skyrim and I love the lore there too. And that one was an easy one when Jeff was like, okay, pick something nerdy that you know a lot about. And that's gonna be kind of the basis of Daedric. Well, we didn't have the name yet, but that's gonna be the basis of this band. And so I was like, you know what? I really like Skyrim and there's a lot to talk about there. And because it's a role-playing game, you can literally insert yourself and your own experiences into this game. So it's kind of a shoo-in. But I would say there's something really special about the Zelda series because it's wholesome and it's like the story is just very classic of, knight saves princess X times and there's always some big bad, but then there's a lot of cool stuff in between and magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I played the original Zelda and got so wild. Like I remember when that came out. I remember when the
Back in my
Nintendo
day.
came out. Yeah. Yeah. I always make fun of myself because I say that so much. I'm like, God, I used to hate when my parents say it. I'm
Yeah.
sure my kids are the same now. But I remember playing Zelda and my dad, I guess at the time he was probably around the age I am now. Yeah, probably about 45, 50. And I don't know what happened, but he got into it. And it was like, hey, Dad, it's my turn. He's like, nope, I bought it. I'm playing it.
This is
Like,
mine now. That's
yeah.
funny.
I'm like, that's totally cool. Like, have at it. And right before he died 12, yeah, 12 years ago in December.
Oh wow.
He passed away in like the last month he was alive. I was like, hey, Dad, download this game on your iPad or whatever, and we'll play.
Oh,
He
like an
was like,
emulator.
well, it was so we didn't do. He shot pool a whole lot, so we didn't do like any role playing games or anything. But I made him download a pool game, and he loved it, man. It was super cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad that he had to have that before he passed.
Yeah, it's cool to have that like connection with your parents. I think, um,
Yeah, it's
you know, we
special.
had a yeah, we had a real rocky relationship for a lot of years. So being able to like at least get back on the road to repairing that was like a nice end,
Yeah. That's a
to
great
his life
memory for
for
you
me.
to hold on to and feel, positive about your relationship with him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so rough. My fault for so many years,
It's okay. I think
admittedly.
it's almost a rite of passage to have problems with your parents and then come full circle.
That is true. So with you like moving into, this music, how do you, how's that with your parents?
Like you mean how do they feel about my music?
Yeah.
Oh man. I can't speak for my dad, but for my mom, it's been really fun because my mom is extremely religious and she saw that my website was black and that there were dragons in Skyrim, and that's satanic. So that was fun for the first few years of her trying to convince me that my music was evil. And then she actually spent some time with my cousins in Sweden who are huge Daedric fans. And they showed her all the music videos and my interviews and my whole YouTube channel. And it was like she just flipped and she's like, I love Daedric. I'm going to support you. How do we get you over to Sweden? I'm going to buy all your merch, all these things. And she's just like the biggest fan. And it's just been really funny because she still won't listen to like the screaming. She's very much like, no, but I'll send her the softer stuff or even just covers. And she's like, oh, I love this one. You look so pretty. This one's so nice. Can you sing this? And, I'll do that for her. And it's been a really sweet just journey with her.
Yeah. How does that make you feel having that um, having her like on board now?
It's pretty cool. It's not something I really had on my bingo card for my life, and I never expect my family or friends to listen or care about what I do, just because I love them for them and they love me for me, not, for what I do. So that's okay. I never really think, even my siblings don't listen to my music. They're just off doing their own thing. They think it's cool, and they're like, "Oh, are you famous?" And they'll be very confused when I tell them things. But I don't expect much out of that. It's just kind of cute, I guess, whenever my mom talks about it.
Yeah. It's got to be nice, like having that, um, having that support from your mom who not, 10 years ago was like, nope, keep that away from me. I'm not having any part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually have a video of her ranting about it. It's pretty funny.
Ah, I gotta see that. I really like,
It may never see the light of day. I think it would be inflammatory. But it's fun for me to look back and be like, wow, she was quite spirited about it.
that's funny. That is super funny. My so that was like my contention with my dad. I always like built my own path. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. He was always get a job at the factory, work, put together cars, do this. And right before he passed, he was like, you know what? He said, I'm really proud of you. And I was like, what? For
Yeah.
what? He said, you're always, always carved your own path and you always made it happen. Just like, oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and that's a really cool thing for him to realize because I know especially those generations, they were very much stuck on like you had to have the 2.5 kids in the car and the white picket fence and the stable job and everything was very much like shoehorned into this exact formula. But then now that they're seeing that you can be successful and happy doing things you love, it's something that I think as especially towards the end that I think all of us are going to look back and wish that we did for ourselves. So the fact that you're doing it is incredibly, honorable and you should be proud of it too.
Oh, I am. I love it. But not just me, you also doing your thing, carving your own path. And I think, there are so many people out there that are doing it, especially now, you know, you're right. Like when I was growing up, it was this is all you're doing, go to college, get a job, do this thing, like, and then you can enjoy life when you retire. I'm like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
When I retire, my life is doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
I want to,
Incontinence.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to travel the world in a diaper.
Definitely not. Like maybe a stadium buddy, but that's probably as far as that gets.
You're gonna be in
Like
the wheelchair, just being like, I remember when I liked this music.
I'm gonna be the old guy that breaks out of the nursing home and ends up like at a metal show and just like he had a heart
Wait, he
attack
escaped
in the pit.
again. How did he get tickets?
I keep all this money. That son of a that's what band have you seen live that just absolutely blew your mind that you weren't
Oh,
expecting?
that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Um, I went to Silent Planet not being like I wasn't like not a fan, but I wasn't a fan. And I was really blown away by not only the show, the light show and the LED panels and everything they have going on production wise, but also just their performance. The instrumentalists are just going hard and doing flips and spins and crazy stuff and just feeling their music. And then of course you have Garrett Russell just going crazy, but also he has this like more soft, vulnerable side, especially in like the metalcore realm is kind of crazy. And he talks about, his dealings with like PTSD and his own emotions. And that was something really inspiring to me. And I love how he's connected with the community because he's always constantly bringing up smaller artists and just being a genuine good person and making a place where everyone can feel accepted and not just, I'm super cool and I'm famous, like don't touch me. He's very much this approachable person. And that's been inspiring to me as I'm coming into my own as an artist. Is that something I've wanted for my own community of people, is to make it feel accessible in a very respectful way.
Yeah. I think that's how it should be. Like especially larger artists, they should always, reach down and bring up those lesser knowns because
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people miss, we're so focused on what's on the radio and who's number one and Billboard and whatever.
Popularity. Yeah.
Yeah, like we're so focused on that, but what they don't realize is these independent and underground artists are like on the cutting edge of everything.
Yeah.
Like they push the boundaries. They, they're the ones who are gonna, I don't know, craft the industry to be what's next, and it's really important. I mean, looking at, I mean, my most recent reference is Ozzy because he just passed, but listening to all the artists pay respect to him. I mean, everyone was like, "Oh, if it wasn't for Ozzy, taking us out on the road," and he did that for 35 years, bringing new artists out. Man,
Yeah.
that's that is where that's where we perpetuate the industry and that communal like feeling in music.
Yeah. 'Cause I do think it's our duty as an artist to be real and be something that's like a voice of the people that you want to represent. And that's more important than charting or having a million streams or whatever, status symbol of popularity that exists. I think when I think back to even artists of back then, of like, you have Beethoven, Michelangelo, they weren't doing it because they wanted to be famous. They were just like, this is what I do. And I think about that a lot as I do this. Is it is hard not to compare. It's hard not to look at your peers and be like, oh, they're up here and they're going on these tours and they have this many blah 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 things. And I think that's a very difficult thing with social media. Just the comparison game is so difficult, like so very difficult to navigate. But if you can mostly set that aside and think about what am I doing and why am I doing it, and sometimes it's just for yourself, and I think that's okay. And just being an artist is that's it. Like everyone always asks me, like, what are your goals with Daedric? What next thing is for Daedric? And I'm like, I'm in it. I'm successfully doing this as like basically full time, and whether it makes $0 or $1 million doesn't really matter. It's the fact that I have the ability and the freedom to do this is enough for me.
That's cool. That's where, I think that's the authenticity in the art, right? Like you're doing it for you, no other reason. And there's I think that is what most of us are really drawn to. I get sent in the last like month, I've probably had 20 AI artists sent to me, and
Oh
there's
man.
like I listen to it without knowing anything about it, and there's nothing to me. There's no connection. There's no like depth to it. I'm like, this is missing something. And then I read, and it's like, oh, AI artist.
Yeah, that's why there's no
There's no,
experience there. It's just conglomeration of words that they peeled from the internet.
yeah, and notes like it just there's no depth to it. Here's what it is. It's a real like 2D picture.
Mhm.
You're like, I'm playing the 8-bit Zelda again. What's up? You
Or
know?
like 2008 when every band was using the word misery because that was the word of the day.
Yeah,
We're all in misery.
we're all in misery
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, Kristen, I know you have things to do today, so I don't want
easily.
to keep you. Thank you so much for your time. I've had a great time chatting and getting to know you. When are you guys out on tour again?
So we do have something coming up in February that we have yet to announce. I keep telling people this. I don't know when we're going to announce it, but we should be announcing it probably in around December, and we will be seeing people on the East Coast again. That's about all I can say for now, but
Okay, I'll take
February.
it.
Yeah,
Whatever. Awesome.
awesome.
All right. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.